All right, welcome everybody. I'm Ed Cruz. This is episode 54, and this is the last lesson. Sorry, and I made an adjustment with the camera. This episode is called Everything Matters, and it looks upon the principles of what we're learning and developing from Silam Tao. Oftentimes in this current generation, you do things and you can get away and cut corners with certain things. For a fact, if your Wing Chun's good and the Wing Chun's really great, everything you do has a rhyme and reason behind it. Now, as a student, you may not necessarily know what the reason or the rhyme is for what you're doing, but if you have a good teacher and you've learned Wing Chun really well, then you're doing something not just for the sake of doing. You're doing something because there's a purpose and a meaning and a development possibly behind it, okay? So it's not just there to be there for the sake of it. Okay, so think of it something as someone who's efficient or someone who's like the government. Okay, unnecessary clutter more often than not. Okay, so the concept that everything matters, if we look at it from the form, right, means that if we take one idea from the Tanzao, okay, we're doing it, having the tension, the shape, the timing, the motion, the positioning. This side matters. The stretch in their body, the legs matter. The tension in the fingers, the right tension in the fingers. Every little detail matters because at the end, by doing it correctly, right, you get a result from that. You get an automatic response from the actual structural integrity of all three structures, leg, body, and arms, right? But now, there's no reason. You'd be like, okay, it doesn't, I think the purpose really, what I want to say for the videos is, while everything does in fact matter to the point of detail, the reality is time is limited and you can't be a total control freak about everything. That means you gotta care and worry about the things that really, it's like, for example, if you're a surgeon, for example, you can't be like, oh, well, this is not so important. Every little detail that at that particular time matters, and that's good because people are a speciality. Their speciality is they should focus on everything, but you can't focus on having everything so perfect all the time. That means if your line of work requires a level of focus and concentration and step by step, then you need to be that detailed. You need to be that accurate. But the overall lesson that I want to give to you is that while it does all matter, from the simplest thing, like maybe how you cut the lawn or the right way to do this, or maybe to fold your clothes, you can't have the entire thing of your entire schedule matter. You can't have everything perfect. You can't have this has to be this way, this has to be that way. I know people who try to be a control freak and they're like, I gotta have everything exactly how I want it to be. For example, if you're like the director of a movie, you want it exactly how you want it to be. It's gotta be perfect, you want that look to be. But so much focus and detail go into that to make it perfect, you can't carry that outside of your everyday life. You can't have like, oh, this gotta be done right, this gotta be, it can't, because the reality is, it just can't be. It has a certain level of imbalance, and at the same time, those people who end up being such a control freak about this, and this, they're always miserable, right? They're always miserable because the reality is, if you have a 10-hour day, maybe let's say, and it can't be always consistent, like 8 hours, you gotta be perfect and on the nose to do whatever. Like you're a surgeon, 8 hours, you gotta be perfect. The rest of the remainder of the 2 hours, you can't be like, oh man, I gotta make sure this is done. Others outside of work, I gotta make sure this is perfectly done. You're just damn miserable. And the problem is, it's hard to let that go because if you're in that mode of being such a perfectionist and making sure this detail and that detail is exactly in place, it's hard to turn that off. So you as an individual have to learn how to be that way. So for example, what's an example I can give you? Sure, Wing Chun, I'm really detailed. Everything I have to know inside and out. From if you go forward, back, in, out, philosophy, mentally, spiritually, everything. I really, really know the detail on that. As far as, what can I give you? Okay, when I'm washing clothes, right? I know there's like some kind of, you have to separate clothes, white, colored, whatever. Literally, I get it. I take all the clothes, I toss it in, I put in the laundry detergent, I leave it on cold because I didn't change any of the, if I put it on hot, and then there's a color that bleeds out, but you reduce the risk of that happening if you put it on cold, and I'm done. Right? I mean, yeah, I get it. You know, maybe it's because I just don't care too much about clothes. I just can't spend, you can't devote every single second and time. So it's like, oh, this has to be perfect. I gotta fold these clothes. I have a hamper after I dry out the clothes. Done. I toss it in. Okay, maybe I'll fold a little, but I'm not spending that hour or whatever on that. It's just, it can't always be so perfect for everything that you have to do. But that's what I'm trying to say. That balance of the things that really matter, yeah, you gotta be detailed in that. But you can't put that focus into every single thing that you do. You can, but you just be miserable. So you gotta find a balance of letting it go and say, hey man, that's okay. You know, if I can't get that perfectly right, life will still go on. So at the end of the day, hopefully you understand that little lesson that it does really matter, but you gotta be selective for things that matter. Okay, it can't just be 100% perfect, 100% everything. Control freaks, you can choose to do that, let's just be miserable. All right?